Coming in hot from Arizona, this is Trevor
and Troy Howard.
And you're on SoTellUs Time. You can have everything you want in your business. Sometimes you just need a little help.
Every business owner would love to charge more for their services, but sometimes you can sacrifice long-term loyalty for a short-term profit.
Creating the right rituals is key to your business having success.
Are you tired of competing with your competitors? Guess what? You don't have to compete if you create.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of SoTellUs Time. This is round 2 of our 3-part series. So exciting! I know that last week you took some time to go and update your Google My Business listing. Right? Yes. They're all nodding your heads yes as you're driving, or if you're sitting in front of the computer on YouTube watching us, you're like, yes, I did. Or maybe if you're in front of your computer, you're like, oh crap, and you're pulling up your Google My Business listing right now. And you're starting to update that while you listen to this episode. So this week, we're going to be talking about the difference. Well, we're going to be talking about PPC and SEO, or PPC versus SEO. The differences, when you should use them, maybe when you shouldn't use them, and what they are. Because a lot of times I say to people, oh yeah, well, PPC. And they're like, oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. And that's okay. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Or SEO, what does that stand for? I don't know what SEO is. And so just because you're a business owner doesn't mean you know everything. Doesn't mean that you know all about marketing.
Yeah.
You may be really good at what you do, but things like PPC and SEO are foreign to you. Or you may know enough to be dangerous.
Yes.
And those people kind of scare me sometimes, especially when they call. So, all right, Troy, so let's jump in. We do PPC, we do SEO. All 4 things that we're talking about in this 3-part series, we are doing in our business as well. So we know what we're talking about. We do this for our clients, and we do this in our own businesses. So let's jump in.
All right, so let's just kind of start off. We'll start off with PPC first. So, and Trevor's kind of our resident PPC expert, so he'll be throwing a bunch of stuff in here, teaching us about it. But let's just talk about what is PPC first.
Right.
So what that stands for, PPC stands for pay per click.
Yep.
So I want you to just think of Google ads or Facebook ads.
Yep.
Right? Think of those ads are at the top of Google, or those ads you see in your Facebook feed. That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you're paying every time someone clicks on your ad, right, whether they purchase or not, right? You're not paying for a sale. You're paying for them to go to your website.
Yeah. And it's going to be when you do a Google search, it's going to be the 3 ads that are on the top. And then, so it usually goes the 3 ads, those 3 listings that are there. Then it goes the Google My Business listings a lot of times.
Yep. Or
those might be on the right-hand side. It depends on where Google puts them on the page. Sometimes they're right in the center of the page. Sometimes they're off to the right. But then it's going to go the organic, which is the 1 through 10. Now, here's the other thing is, there are then ads usually at the bottom of the 1 through 10. If it's a popular keyword in a popular area, for sure. So you can have ads at the top, or you can even have ads at the bottom. And we'll talk about how you get where.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to let's just talk about kind of the pros and cons of each one of these, and then we can go into more detail about that.
Sure.
So we'll start out with the pros of PPC. One of the great things about PPC is you get traffic immediately to your website.
Yep.
So the minute you start doing it, not the minute, let's be honest. It takes Google a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But, very quickly you can start generating traffic to your website to get sales. Another great thing about PPC is that it tends to be easier to track your numbers.
Yeah.
Because you've got Google giving you numbers of, hey, you got this many clicks. It cost you this much for each one of those clicks. And then you can then take that traffic and you can figure out your ROI based on your website, what you're spending versus clicks.
Yeah.
So it tends to be a much more straightforward way to track your marketing budget. And the other great thing about it is you can target specific keywords and specific geographic areas.
Yep.
So it helps you really kind of define what you are, what you are going for.
Yeah.
What your consumer is, the person who's going to purchase from you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the other pros about it.
Well, and before we move on to cons, I want to, because there was a couple things in there that there's some myths around PPC that I want to clear up here. And they were in those first three things, which is instant traffic, right?
Yes.
So we tell all of our people it's a minimum of a 3-month program.
Yes.
You have to be committed to your budget for 3 months at minimum. And now that doesn't mean that you're not going to get business soon or quickly, but it does mean that in order to really truly see how it's going to perform, you need to give a commitment of 3 months to it. And so people think, oh, if I just turn this on today, I'm going to have jobs. My phone's going to be ringing right away, like immediately. Well, guess what? Google has what they call their, proving time, right? So what they have to do is their whole job is to provide you the latest and greatest and best information possible. They have to make sure you're not a scam.
Yeah.
They have to make sure you're not a fly-by-night company, that your website's going to disappear tomorrow. You're going to scam a bunch of people and then be gone. So they are slow to promote. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so it can take a little bit of time to get things rolling. And so what we always tell people is like, look, month 1 is setting everything up. Because Google even has a time frame. They can take anywhere from, when you make a change, they can take anywhere from 5 days to 2 weeks to actually fully implement that change. So the month 1 is setting up the campaigns and getting everything going, right? Month 2 is making your tweaks. And on a 5 to 2 week time period, you can see that not very many tweaks can even be made in order to have them done in the time frame that you're wanting, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to track them. I mean, sure, you can go make a ton of changes, but you may not know what affected what if you do that. So it's good to be slow about that and make, very targeted and well thought out changes. And then month 3 is where we like to see it really starting to groove and move, okay? So you're tracking it all along the way. So people come to us all the time, I want to do PPC, I need jobs today. I'm sorry, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Okay? So get that in your minds. And then second is the tracking. So it is easier to track than some of these other methods of marketing. However, Google does not track and report the right numbers often.
Yes.
Often. I mean, you have to be like, we have Google tracking it, but then we're personally tracking things as well. We put forms in place,
Yes.
call tracking numbers in place. Because Google will, if you have a click ad where it's a click to call ad, they'll tell you that you had 300 phone calls or 300 clicks on that phone number to call. And it's like, no, I had two phone calls, their numbers. Now, the other thing is that their reporting is delayed, and a lot of people don't understand that. So we have an opt-in form for one of our businesses, and it'll report, if I just go grab the numbers for our Tuesday meeting off of Google, it'll say we have 30 opt-ins. But if I go look at how many form fills we've actually had, we'll have 40.
Yeah.
Because they have a delay of up to 3 to 5 days even sometimes of their numbers and reporting. So it's good that they have these numbers and stuff, but it's better that you can track it outside of Google as well to do comparison.
Yes.
So those are just two things that that are myths, I feel like,
Yes,
about
exactly.
Google, PPC especially, that it's good for you guys to understand. That'll help your minds when you're doing the PPC.
Yep. Thanks
Or
for
having
sharing that.
somebody do your PPC. Now, in fact, one other thing is that I'm going to throw in there is people think they can turn it on and off willy-nilly. And that is so incorrect.
Yes.
You cannot turn it off willy-nilly. And maybe I should have done this after our cons, but if you think I'm going to throw $100 at this today, and then next month I'm going to shut it off, or I'm going to throw $100 a day at it for 1 month and then shut it off, and then I'm going to do it in 2 months and 3 months and all this, but on and off kind of stuff. Guess what? Google will flag you as like a spam, and they won't really show you because you're not consistent at all, and so they will promote consistency way more than being flaky.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all perfect. I'm glad that you went after those myths. Mm-hmm. So the cons of PPC, number one is you've got to have a good budget to compete.
Expensive usually.
Yeah, it's normally a very expensive way to market.
Yep.
And a lot of times people think like, oh, well, I'll just throw $100 at it. And they don't realize that that's just not going to get them anywhere.
No.
You know, just to give you guys an idea, in Mesa, Arizona, if you're a water damage and restoration company and you want to have an ad running for, say, Water Damage Mesa AZ,
Yeah.
that's going to be about $100 a click.
Per click.
So you've got to have a big budget.
Yeah.
Right? But those are big jobs, so you know, a lot of times that can work out.
Right.
But you need to make sure that you have the appropriate budget in order
Correct.
to do PPC. The other thing is that the PPC or your cost per click can be volatile based on your competitors. And
Yes.
Trevor, Trevor manages all of our PPC, and we track all of our numbers. And there are some months where we're like, man, our cost per click was great, or our cost to acquire a customer was great.
Yep.
And then there's other months where a competitor has come in and they're all of a sudden going gangbusters.
Yeah. Throwing a bunch of money at it.
And our costs go way up.
Yep.
And so like Trevor said, it's about consistency. I can't tell you how many times we've seen our costs go up and then that competitor go, oh, this isn't working, and drop out.
Yep.
And then our costs come back down and we're back to right where we were before.
Right. That's right.
So there is volatility. You got to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then the next thing is, like Trevor said, it needs to be monitored and tweaked constantly.
Yes, it does.
Not that you want to be constantly making tweaks, but you need to make a tweak.
Right.
And then you need to monitor and see what change happened and then make a tweak.
Right. And so like a good example of that is like, for instance, the search term area. So you have your keywords, but then you also have what people searched to find and your ad showed up. And so it's funny because Google has phrase match, broad match, and exact match.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go over what each thing does exactly and all that, but I will tell you, people pick exact match and think that that is the only keyword that their ad is going to show up for. Guess what? It is not. Even with exact match, Google is going to show your ads and they call it a close variant to exact match, which I'm like, isn't that funny? Isn't that like a broad match? I'm like, but they introduce this thing where they, even when you pick exact match, they're going to still show your ads for other searches and other keywords that you don't necessarily have in there, but they're a close variant. So what you have to do is you have to be watching your search terms and you need to be going in there. And this is something you could be doing, a couple times a month, is you go in there and you're looking at these search terms that you showed up for, and you need to put them in a negative list. The ones that you don't want to show up for, you want to make sure you're putting those into a negative list. And what that does is it allows Google to know, I don't want to show up for things like this. It lets their brain, their little Google brain, start to work and learn your business better. So that is one place that, I would say you can go in often and make tweaks. Not a lot of places and not a lot of things in Google PPC should you be making lots of changes. That is one spot that you can monitor.
Yeah, I remember we took over PPC for a water damage company.
Yeah.
They had another agency who was doing the work for them, and they weren't getting any results. So we took it over, and I remember we went in and we looked at their negative keywords and the search terms, and they were spending like $1,000 a month for iPhone water damage.
Yeah, so to clarify that, it wasn't in the negative keyword list. It was just in the search terms. They were actually spending this money month over month on damaged iPhones.
Yeah, when they fixed water damaged houses.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously right off the bat, it's like, check that one and make it negative. Because why? But the other company wasn't paying attention to it. They weren't going in and they weren't doing it. It was crazy.
Exactly. And then the other thing too to remember with PPC is that about 30% of searches do people click on the ads. So the majority of consumers click on the organic section, which we're going to be talking about next.
So that means 70% on average skip the ads.
Yep.
So when they do a search, so think about this: carpet cleaning Mesa, Arizona, okay, water restoration Mesa, Arizona, whatever it is. 70% of those people are going to scroll past the first 3 ads and go down to that organic area.
Exactly. So there is a limit to the amount of traffic that you can get from PPC.
And so people say to me all the time, well, why would I want to be, do SEO and be in organic if I can just pay for PPC and be at the top? Well, you're going to miss 70% of the business. That's why.
Exactly.
You're competing for the 30% that actually is going to look at it, So that's why.
All right. Anything else on PPC before we go to SEO?
No, we probably should dive in someday into PPC and all that, but we'll do a little deeper dive later. But this is a good understanding for you guys because, again, this might help you out if you have a company running it, if you're running it on your own. These are some things that you need to understand and will absolutely 100% help you in being more successful with PPC.
Exactly. All right. So let's talk about SEO. What is SEO? So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically, the goal of SEO is to get your website to rank on the first page of Google in that organic section, that
1 through 10.
1 through 10, so that you can get jobs without having to pay per click.
Yep.
Right? You could have 100 people click on your, listing on that first page, and it costs you nothing more.
That's right.
Than if one person clicked on it.
Correct.
So now how do you do this? Well, the majority of it is done through content creation, code manipulation, meaning the coding of your website, and backlinks to get Google to rank your website higher. So that's a lot of what it is, right? And I can tell you right now, it's very tedious.
Yeah.
It's very boring, and nobody likes to do it other than SEO people.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, going back to our previous episode, if you didn't listen to that one about the Google My Business, you should go back talking about the images in that one section where we're talking about tags and titles. That is even SEO. That's like when the team is doing on-page SEO, that's things that they're looking at. They're looking at the title of the images, and they're tagging those images as well. So if you didn't listen last week, you better go back.
Exactly. So the pros of SEO. One of the best things about SEO is that once you get ranking on the first page of Google, you tend to keep it, for a longer period of time.
Absolutely. You stop PPC, it's gone today.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's a great point. If you turn off that budget, you get no more clicks.
Correct.
From PPC. With SEO, you do the SEO work, you build it up, you get on that first page of Google, you get the number 1, 2, or 3 spot, and it's gonna be harder to knock you off of that spot.
Right.
So it's gonna last longer. Again, another benefit is that there's no cost per click.
Yeah.
Or lead. It doesn't matter if you get 1 or 100, you're paying the same. And again, 70% of consumers click on those organic results versus clicking on those ads. So you have a bigger pool of customers that you can get and reach. Now, there are some cons to SEO.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons for every type of marketing.
Right.
One of the cons with SEO is that it is a long-term strategy.
Yes.
You are, like Trevor said, you're not going to get jobs today.
Nope. From
SEO. And if that's your mentality, when I got to do SEO so that I can get jobs right away, then you have the wrong idea.
Yeah.
You should never be thinking that way because SEO takes 6 to 12 months minimum to get results. In fact, that's why most companies that do SEO will make you sign a minimum 12-month contract.
Yes.
Because they know that it's going to take them 12 months to get any results for you. And they've got to lock you in to make that happen. Because again, like Trevor said with PPC, it's not something that you just do a little bit and then stop and do a little bit and stop and do a little bit, right? It builds on itself.
That's right.
And you've got to constantly be pushing your website up towards the first page of Google. You don't just go a little bit and stop and then think it's going to stay there. It's going to come back down, right? So you got to be constantly pushing it. And the other thing with SEO that's kind of a con is sometimes it can be harder to track the ROI.
Right.
Because you're not tying it directly to, I got this many clicks and those clicks cost me this much. And so I know, and I closed this many sales.
Right.
Right. So you can definitely track it, but it's just not quite as cut and dry,
Correct.
if you will.
Correct.
So those are some of the cons of SEO, but SEO is a really good marketing strategy.
Oh, I just spent over an hour on the phone with a client the other day explaining exactly this, PPC and SEO. And I told her, I said, you think of SEO as your foundation.
Yep.
Your business, as long as you're not disappearing tomorrow, or your goal is to sell it immediately or something like that, if you're looking at like building a long-term good business that can, survive the ups and downs and survive different presidencies and all sorts of things, right? If you're looking to build a good, solid business, SEO, you need to be doing SEO.
Yeah.
SEO builds your foundation. It's long-term, but you're investing in your business that you believe in, that you want to be around long-term.
Yeah.
So my opinion is everyone should be doing SEO.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Oh, and I thought of another con.
Yeah.
And it actually goes right with the word con. The other thing about SEO is there are a lot of companies out there that claim to be SEO experts.
Oh, yeah.
And they lock people into contracts and they charge a lot of money for it.
Totally.
And they do nothing. Because here's the thing, when it comes to SEO, as we kind of mentioned earlier, it's a long, arduous, grinding effort.
Right.
It's doing things that nobody else wants to do in order to get Google to rank you higher. And so there's a lot of people out there that will sell you the dream that they're going to get you ranked, and they won't.
Right. And you said expensive, and it's true. There's a lot of companies out there, but also a big red flag is if they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get you on the first page of Google for $250 a month, they're not going to get you on the first page of Google for $250 a month.
No.
Unless they're doing something they shouldn't be doing that's going to get you banned.
Yep.
Like, you got to think of it as this. Someone is working on your website every single month, and their time, you're paying for their time. So how much time can they spend on your website is based on how much money you're paying them. So they're really not doing anything. All the time I hear people say, oh, well, this other company said it would be like $250 a month. And I'm like, cool, go try them. And when it doesn't work, come back. I'll see you in, 6 months to a year. And you're going to go, that didn't do anything for me. And I'll be like, yes, I know. You wasted that time.
Yeah, in fact, I just saw a study the other day talking about SEO, and they said that only 30% of business owners would recommend their SEO company to other businesses.
Oh, wow.
And that's really, really sad.
Yep.
So you got to be careful when it comes to SEO, because again, the one of the things with SEO is because it takes a long time to get the results, and because it's not as visible as other forms of marketing, meaning like if you pay for 1,000 flyers,
right,
you get 1,000 flyers and they go in the mail. You saw them go out.
Right.
SEO work is not like that visible. You can't feel it, touch it necessarily.
Right.
And so you just got to watch out for the people that aren't honest about it.
Absolutely.
All right. So now the question you might be asking yourself is, well, what should I do? Should I do PPC? Should I do SEO?
Right.
What am I supposed to do? Well, the real answer is, the best of both worlds. Meaning that if you have the budget,
yes,
your marketing strategy should combine both PPC and SEO.
Yeah.
Right? So PPC is going to help bring in that money quicker, bring in those profits, bring in those jobs, and then a portion of those profits need to be reinvested into the SEO.
Right.
To create that organic ranking that is going to lower your ROI.
Right. And the thing is, again, like Troy said, PPC, because a lot of people think, well, I need business now. But PPC, you're looking at most industries, you're looking at probably $3,000 a month minimum. Okay, so if you can't sustain $3,000 a month for 3 months, so if you can't invest $9,000 into your business for the PPC, then PPC is not for you.
Yeah.
The SEO is the better direction. But if you have a budget more of like $5,000 a month and you can sustain that, SEO and PPC is the way to go.
Yeah.
That's really where you want to be. You want to be doing the 1-2 punch, right? And that's really the 1-2 punch, is combining the two and building your business, thinking of your business as, this is long-term. I'm not going anywhere. I want to build a good foundation. I don't want to build my business upon the sand and it gets washed away. I want to build it on the rock, right? And part of that is a mental thing.
Yep.
The world today is like, I've got to have it now. I want it right now, and blah, 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 blah. And so we all feel like with social media and, the lies that are on Instagram and on Facebook and all these places of these businesses doing so amazing and blah, 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 all you're ever seeing is the good stuff. But it makes you start to almost get anxious and like, I gotta do it right now. No. Build a good, strong foundation and build your business to last. And guess what? Those little fakers that are renting a mansion for the day and doing some Instagram videos and renting Porsches and all these things, Lambos, they're not going to stick around. They're going to scam a few people and then, disappear, basically.
Exactly.
So don't get caught up in the fakeness. Pick one of these or both of these, hopefully, to be honest, and let's grow your business. That's what the whole idea behind marketing is. As long as you can track and monitor it and prove that it's working, do it. Do it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And what we're teaching you is what we do in our business. Mm-hmm. About a third of our clients every single month come in through paid ads. Mm-hmm. A third of them come in through partners.
Yep.
And then the other third come in through referrals and organic results.
That's right.
So we literally practice what we preach, and it's how we keep our ROI, our cost cost to acquire a customer, as low as possible. That's really what it is. Because again, if we were just doing PPC, our cost would be much higher. But because we have the organic and the referrals coming in that way, it lowers that cost, and it's how we're able to compete against competitors that have $100 million in funding.
They're all going the funding route. Unfortunate for them, awesome for us.
Yep. All right. Anything else, Trevor, before the homework?
Nope. Let's jump into the homework. Okay, guys. So this week, what you're going to do is you're going to look at your business. You're going to say, do I want to do SEO? Do I want to do PPC? Do I want to do both? Or maybe now listening to us, you're going to say, I'm doing PPC and I've got some questions for my company that's running my ads, or I'm doing it on my own. And oh my gosh, that makes sense. I was turning it on, I was turning it off, and no wonder it's not working. And or you might have questions for your SEO team now, things like that. So just analyze what marketing you are doing, if it's PPC or SEO, or if you're not doing any PPC or SEO, decide if one or both are good for you.
Yep.
Right? Okay. And remember, marketing is like the hand game. You spend money, your competitor spends money. You spend money, your competitor spends money. You spend money. So you're always trying to put that hand back up. And when you stop, your hand gets further and further and further down in the game, basically.
Yeah. What's that quote? He who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins.
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy, right? And so this is what helped us continue to grow. I didn't change my budget at all. We did not change our budgets during the pandemic. And we talked about this in our podcast. So if you followed us and listened to us, you knew what we were doing. In fact, I ramped it up.
Yep.
Because my competitors all started falling off and disappearing. And, we're not going to spend money right now. They're idiots. And you know what? We grew. We kept growing. And that's what we're going to keep doing. Even during these times when prices are skyrocketing and things are, crazy, and everybody, it just feels like, goodness gracious. It's like, when are they going to stop beating us up, right? But anyways, all right, guys, take a look at your business and figure out if SEO, PPC is good for you, if both are good for you, or maybe, analyze what you're doing currently with your SEO or PPC. Yeah? Oh, one last thing. PPC doesn't always work in every industry.
Yes.
It can be too expensive. So we have carpet cleaning, for instance. They come to us all the time and they want to do PPC, The problem with it is it can, if your average job is $150 to maybe $300, it can take you $150 to acquire a customer. And so then you've got the cost of your gas, you got the cost of your products and all of that time and everything. And then now you're in the negative. So that's not the case for everybody, but a lot of our carpet cleaners that, aren't just like massively huge and have, what we would call a budget that is for awareness more, than actual marketing, right? If you can spend money just to make sure you're there and number one all the time, then that's one thing. Yeah. But if you have to, if every dollar you're sending out needs to bring friends back, PPC in the carpet cleaning industry is really hard.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will see you guys next Tuesday for the third and final part of our 3-phase podcast, talking about the different marketing that you should be doing or looking at in your business. Have a sensational day, guys. We'll talk to you soon.